I'm Eleni. I'm a family constellation facilitator and a trainer in Israel. And I also developed a method of Karmic constellation, which I teach. And being a Jew in Israel, I feel the land, but I also, I got yesterday, I went into Clubhouse and I went into, it's a social media that people just talk, and I hear Israeli and Palestinians, and it's all about who's doing wrong, who was here before. And I have a sensation for many, I don't know if years, many time now, that this is not the story. That it doesn't matter who was here before, because first of all, none of us is the owner of the land. Maybe the land is the owner of us, but we are not the owner of the land. And when we will look in another 200 or 300 years in perspective, maybe we will all be global, hopefully, actually. So all these conflicts maybe they are our path to the global unite. And so for me, all these Israel versus Palestine, it's not a question. And I was struggling with myself. And then I said, okay, you know what? I need to work with the land, with the Akashic records of the land. And I will introduce what are the Akashic records for the one that doesn't know. And so the aim of the session is to work with the land itself, with no political issue. And I will say, I was in a political constellation last week on Saturday. I represented Palestine, and Alexandra from Mexico represented Israel. It was really interesting, and we got into a dead end. So I believe, and I think it makes me feel more that this is not, if we approach this issue, we will never go into any new situation. And then when I woke up at Tuesday, I'm not so good with Tuesday and Thursday. No, Thursday, 2 days ago, I felt I want to bring here a map of the land without it's written, this is Israel, here is Jerusalem, here is Gaza Strip, but I couldn't find one. And then I went to shopping, something I scheduled a month ago, to a hangar of crystals, and I found this stone, which is, everyone that looked at it said, oh, it's Israel. So I wanted to bring it as a representation, but it's too technologist and I couldn't. And it's iHawk, it's called, if anyone wants to know. And actually, I think I sent it, or I put it on Facebook, the meaning of iHawk, and it was like, wow, it's the correct stone that we need to this constellation. So I put it yesterday on what we're going to do, and it will be with us all this session. Or is my technical helper. Thank you, Or. Say hi. And just want to let you that Or is light. And when God says there will be light, in Hebrew, he says, Vayehi Or. So thank you, Or. And okay, about the chat, I'm not going to read it. It's too much for my ADD, but I invite you to write in it, to write in your language, whether it's Hebrew, Spanish, German, English, Vietnamese. I just see several people that written from where they are. Arabic, just write in your language. And if you want all to read it, write it also in English. one of the big sensations I have got this week is there are so many shushed voices that are not allowed to be heard from all the sizes. And I want to give them a space. So the way I can give them a space is by you writing in your language. I know when I write in Hebrew and then I translate to English, so many words or accents I don't find the correct words. So I said, okay, I'll write this one. So be yourself and express the voices that comes within you. Or will read everything you write, and at least the one in English and Hebrew that he will understand. If there is any technical issues that you want to approach, he will read it and he will let me know. I decided to not unmute you, but if there will be noises, he will, to not mute you, sorry. If there will be noises, he will mute you. I hope you have water, because when we work with karma, we need lots of water. Okay, any question till now? Okay. So all of you know, because I published it in so many places, all of you know constellation, am I right? Yes. Okay, cool. So I'm not going to explain about constellations. So about the Akashic records. It's like an imprint that the land has inside of her. So we look at trauma, let's say epigenetic for 4 generations. When we do constellation, well, actually, when I have done constellation, sometimes I got into Adam and Eve, or all kinds, but the land were here even before Adam and Eve. Like, even if we look biblically, God created the land, and after, I think 5 or several days, he created man. So the land has its own imprint, and the imprint or the blueprint can be of people. Like, I love history, so I can tell you that the known history of 6,000 years ago is about conquest. Like, Egypt came to this land and conquered it. And there were all kinds of tribes that came and conquered it, even before Abraham, or before our known history or our written history. So it is a big, an important land. It's an important for not marketing, for trail, and people always came through this land, and this is why people always wanted to conquer it. And so this is what we are approaching. We are approaching the inner knowledge of the land, of all this happens even before there were Jews, or it's called Ivrim, and before there were Muslims, and actually before there was one God. So this is what we are approach, and we also approach the tectonic boards of the land. I don't know if you know, but Israel sits on a tectonic board, which is separate it from Syria and Jordan. One day we won't be near Syria and Jordan, so all those words today, why? So all the blueprints that the land have is the Akashic records of the land. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna start with a meditation, and then we're gonna do a self-guided constellation, each one of you. And then we will work in rooms, and then we'll come back into the major session. Any questions till now? Feel free, if something you didn't understand, want to elaborate something, clarify something. Okay. Okay, so we will start with the meditation. And I am very excited. So, okay, and let's see, no emails. I can close my phone. Okay. So let us all close our eyes. Find ourselves sitting comfortable on our chairs. And take several breathing in and out to calm ourselves. From our roots are going down into the land, into the core of the land. Notice them, imagine them, feel them. And notice that when they are getting into the core of the land, the lands give them back compassion and unconditional love. And the compassion and the unconditional love go through the roots into our body, into our leg, goes up to our heights. And in every breath we are taking, they're going higher and higher to our stomach and all our inside organs that we have. To our lungs and our heart. And into our spinal cord, up into our shoulders. And we are getting filled with unconditional love and compassion. And it goes down our hands into the end of our fingers. And up to our throat. And into our head or into our brain. To our crown. We are filled with compassion and unconditional love. We are connected to Gaia, to Mother Earth. Just feel how it is to be connected, to be guardian by Gaia. And from our crown chakra, the energy of Gaia goes out into our halo, our aura, and filled it with compassion and unconditional love. Notice how it feels, how it sends, or just imagine it. From the divinity, there is a bright light that going down into our crown chakra that fills us with endless knowledge and endless love. And we get filled by endless knowledge and endless love from the Creator, from Spirit, from the Divine. And it fills our head. And in each breath we take, it goes down our body, filling our body with knowledge, endless knowledge, and love. And it goes down to our throat, and into our shoulder, and from our shoulder to our hands, and toward the end of our fingers. Into our spine and all our back. And into our heart. Let us feel our heart filled with the endless knowledge of divinity, with the endless love of divinity. How does it feel to be loved? To know that we are loved. And into our lungs, goes down, and into our stomach and all our inside organs. And it goes down into our hips and knees. And down into our foot. And from there, they're going out to our aura, to our halo. And we are now surrounded by the energy of divinity and the energy of the land, full of unconditional love, compassion, infinity knowledge, and infinity love. Just notice how it feels to be loved by Gaia and to be loved by divinity. How does it sense? Let us give intention to step out of our prejudice, our political prejudice, our religious prejudice, to come to this constellation, to come to this land, pure and unbiased. We come to this constellation as divinities that walks a long time on the surface of the land, on the land. We hold within us the knowledge of war and the knowledge of peace. We have the knowledge of healing and of sickness. In this constellation, we give the intention to connect to the knowledge of peace and healing. And we're going to give it and share it back with the earth and with the world. So we as human, we as humanity and Gaia can be healed. And now, after we put aside all what we think we know, and we gave an intention to come clean to the constellation, I invite you to come back knowing that we are surrounded by the love of the divinity and the love of Gaia. Come back to where you sit, to your room, to your body. Take a deep breath. And slowly open your eyes and come back to the here and now. Okay. And what we're gonna do now is we're gonna do the self-guided constellation. And I tell you in advance, you're gonna need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 representation. And we're gonna work with them slowly. And I will say I have the intent to do it fast. So if I am fast and you need me to slow down, just let all know, or even unmute yourself and say, yeah, please slow down. And I'm going to do it with you. So I have my felts. And the first representation we're going to put is me in this life or this incarnation. And yes, Sarah.
When you say 7 representatives, I'm not sure if I understood you correctly. Is it going to be a constellation in the normal sense where we have 7 representatives, or are we working in groups? I don't think I understood fully the dynamic of how it's going to work. Okay,
none of them. Okay, no, it's good you asked. So it's a mini constructive session. So each one of you gonna hold those 7 representations. So it's your own constellation. It's not all the group. We'll have time for that. It's each one due to himself. Okay. So yes, so gather 7 representation. You can either stand on them if you have, I don't know, felts on the floor, or I use mini felts now, but you can also work with objects, whatever you have near you. Yeah. So any other question? It's good. The questions are good. So it's clarify everything. Okay, so the first one is me in this incarnation. The second one is my soul. The third one is a lifetime or incarnation when you lived on this land, what we call now Israel and Gaza Strip and West Bank, maybe as Jew, maybe as Greece, maybe Persian or Canaanic, or even maybe even prehistoric Neanderthal or Netofi, or maybe even as something else that archaeologists didn't yet find out and didn't yet give it a name. Just a lifetime when you lived on this land. And I do believe that all the people that came here lived on this land once, at least. Okay. And then bring representation to the earth or the land as it is today. And put them. We will start with these four. Put them in a structure. And before you're going on them, just notice what happens when you look at what you put. What are the emotion, sensation, feeling that comes up to you? And now take your hands, or if you're standing on it, stand on, but put your hands on me in this incarnation. And notice what comes up. And by noticing what comes up, I mean sensation, feelings, emotions, maybe even memories that you didn't know you have. So we're just noticing what comes up. We're not doing any movement yet. And take your hands off and put it on your soul. And again, notice what comes up. And take your hands off and put it on the representation of past life that you were looking when you were living on this land. And again, notice what comes up. Take your hands off and put it on the land as it is today. And notice what comes up. And take your hands off. And again, look at the formation. And now bring representation to all the negative feelings, emotion, sensation that comes up. Just bring them. You don't even need to name them. And you can bring more than one representation. All the negative. And it can be one and it can be a lot. Just work intuitively. You don't even, as I said, you don't even need to know the name. And put them, notice where you want to put them in the formation. And bring representation to all the good emotions that comes up. Now, after we put all the negative emotion, all the good emotion, and again, it can be one, it can be several, many. And again, we don't need to give them names, just sense what we want to bring or what wants to come into the field. And look where they want to be in the field and put them in the field. And now when you look at the structure, notice what comes up. And let us again put our hands on meaning this incarnation. And notice what comes up now after we put all the emotions we have. How do we feel now? Again, we're not going to move yet. And take your hands off and put it on my soul. Notice what comes up now. And take your hands off and put it on the life that you lived on this land. And notice what comes up. And take your hands off and put it on the land as she is today. And again, notice what comes up. And take your hands off and put it on all the negative emotions. And notice what comes up. And take your hands off and put it on all the positive, the good emotion. And notice what comes up. So now I'm going to ask you to put your hands on me in this incarnation. Notice what comes up. And if this representation wants to move, move it. And if it does move, notice if there any change in the energy, in the sensation, in the emotions. And take your hands off and put it on your soul. And again, notice what comes up and see if your soul wants to move. And if so, move it and notice the changes in the energy. And take your hands off and put it on the lifetime when you lived on this land. And again, notice what comes up. And if it wants to move, move it. And notice the change in the energy. And take your hands off and put it on the land as it is today. And again, notice what comes up And if it wants to move, move it. And notice the changes in the energy. And what comes up now? And take your hands off and put it on the negative emotion that came up. And notice what comes up. And again, notice if they want to move. Are they, if you brought several representation in one package, or you want to spread them, they want to be spreaded or not? We give places to all the negative emotions. We acknowledge them. And take your hands off and put it on all the positive emotions. And again, notice what comes up. And again, notice if they want to move, and if so, move them. And notice the changes in the energy. And take your hands off and put it again on the land. And see if it needs or wants any resources. Maybe yes, maybe not. Both are okay. And if it needs or wants resources, bring her. If you can, put one hand on it and the other hand bring the resources. If not, you can step out and just bring the resources for the land. And when you put the resources, notice what happens to the land. And now go and put your hands on all the negative emotion. And notice if something has changed in the energy or if they want to move. And if so, move them. And notice the changes in the energy. And let us bring representation, each one to his or her own prayer to peace. Each one of us has a prayer to peace. Okay. And notice where you want to put it in the constellation. And we're going to do now the last round. Put your hands on me in this incarnation. And notice what comes up. And again, notice if it wants to move, and if so, move it. And notice the changes in the energy and the different thing that comes up now. And take your hands off and go on your soul, put it on your soul. And notice what comes up. And if it wants to move, move it. And notice the changes in the energy. And notice the new thing that comes up. And take your hands off and put it on the past life where you lived on this land. And again, notice what comes up. And if you want to move it. And again, notice the changes in the energy. And if anything else or new comes up, just let it come up. And take your hands up and put it on the land as it is today. And notice what comes up. And again, if it wants to move it. And again, notice the changes in the energy and the new information you get. And take your hands off and put it on the negative emotions. And just notice, have anything changed? Are they strong like they were? Are they have the same energy, heavy as they were before? Maybe yes, maybe not. I don't know. And again, notice if they are put it in a place that they need to be, or maybe they want to move. And if so, just move them. And notice the changes in the energy. And take your hands off and put it on all the positive emotion that came up. And again, notice if there is any change in the energy. Are they stronger? Are they less strong? Do you have more positive emotion than you had before or not? Or less? And again, if they want to move, let them move. And notice what comes up. The changes in the energy. What did it change? And put your hand on your own prayer for peace. And for a moment, notice what comes up. And I do want you, because we have the time, I do want you to see if you can make this prayer a word, one word. It can be one sensation, one emotion, or a word. And I would like you to share this word with all of us. So whenever you feel you want to share, you can unmute yourself and just share the prayer, just share the one word or the prayer, not the whole constellation. Let us bring to this constellation the word. So just unmute yourself and share.